What is going on, everyone? This is Andrew O'Connell with Pristine Capital coming at you with yet another market recap video. I'm also the Director of Research at Leduc Trading. It is December 28th, 2020. Hope you all had an awesome Christmas holiday and had, a nice good rest for the past couple days. I certainly did, where, I had a couple days of no market recaps, a couple days of just hanging out with friends and family. So it was a really nice holiday for me. But yeah, now we're jumping right back into it. I feel nice and rejuvenated and ready to go. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this content, and I will continue to make it for you. Today we're going to be talking about the price action in the indices, volatility or lack thereof. We're going to go under the hood and check out the sectors and style factors and see why today was a bit of a different day. We're going to take a look at some of the trades that I took, and then we'll wrap up some options order flow. But before we jump in, quick risk disclaimer. Nothing in this video should be construed as investment advice or recommendations. Please follow your own trading plan and your own risk parameters. And last but not least, do not YOLO your entire account into any one of my trades. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Let's take a look at our headline indices. We had the S&P 500, nice solid day today, up 0.86%. We had the NASDAQ QQQ up 1.01%. We had the small caps, pretty strange here. They faded throughout the day, closing down 0.37%. And we had the Dow Jones closing up 0.66%. And, what I observed throughout the day was it seemed like there was a lot of rotation under the hood, and a lot of the style factors and stocks and, like big time winners were sold off today, which I'm sure blindsided a lot of traders. For myself, it was definitely a bit of an adjustment. I had to, make some moves in my own portfolio. But it definitely just seemed like, okay, we're in the last couple days of the year. People are just kind of like getting their books in order. They might be selling for tax purposes. They might be doing this. They might be doing that. There's low volume because a lot of people are away for the holiday. So we're just going to see a lot of, strange price action really into year end. So it's tough to put too much weight into what we're seeing, but we do have to trade the market in front of us, not the one we want it to be. So we'll jump into all that. But for ES, we did end up getting some sort of agreement on the stimulus. I don't believe it's going to be $2,000 checks for everyone, but at least $600. And the market, it appears, responded positively to that. So you can see our S&P 500 was consolidating sideways for a good, 2 to 3 weeks. And now we actually got a push up above the prior swing high, and we made a new all-time closing high for the S&P 500. So definitely, there's no sell signal in this, nothing bearish about it. Not like it came on a whole lot of volume, but that doesn't really matter in terms of making a new all-time high. So yeah, nothing, this is bullish until proven bearish. Now let's see the Qs. Qs also had a really nice day, closing above that R1 pivot level of 310.96. You can see the Qs are looking a bit more constructive than the S&P 500. The Qs had a really long digestion period where they didn't make new highs, and now you can see we're starting to get, the higher highs and the higher lows as well. So the Qs look really solid. They were helped out in large part, by some of the mega cap tech names. Let's pull some of those up. I love looking at this FinViz heat map. It's just a really nice way to visualize what's going on in the market. It's pretty straightforward, easy to digest format. So you can see here, these mega cap tech names did a lot of the heavy lifting today. We had Apple, really nice day, up 3.58%. I put a trade on in that stock today. I'll talk about that shortly. Microsoft up almost 1%. Facebook having a really nice day. That one has been laying dormant for a while. Google as well, and Amazon. So all these big cap tech names, caught bids today, and there was a bit of rotation into those names, and it sort of masks some of the weakness in some of these other areas. It's like basic materials, you can see, wasn't really so hot. Energy also, Exxon, it looks like finished positive, but a lot of the energy names were red. And really just, you can see all the red, throughout this little picture here. When those mega cap tech names are, doing their thing, the market responds positively to it because they have such large market caps. And then let's see IWM. IWM, you can see, opened up on the highs and then trailed throughout the rest of the day. And IWM has been, our leader for the last 2 months, really, since the election and since the vaccines. And, there's nothing too bearish about it. We're still above the 5-day EMA, still above the 20-day simple moving average, and still above the monthly value area. But that definitely is strange that, this was actually the underperformer today. You can see it came on decently high volume, and really there were just sellers throughout the entire day. That's definitely something I'm making a mental note of. And then the Dow Jones was actually not the biggest underperformer for a day, so congrats to the Dow components. And you can see the Dow Jones, not really much power on this move, really just put in a doji candle. And you can see, still drifting higher to really just moving sideways. Not really all that much here. So let's take a look. We'll pull up our sectors and style factors just to see what was hot and what was not. And this is so everyone can see it, hopefully a little bit better. So you can see these sectors are all ranked in terms of their momentum. And you can see that we actually had losses in almost every sector that has been one of the leaders, prior to today. So you can see ARC Genomics sold off, over 1%. The ARC Innovation Fund sold off. And what's so funny about these ARC funds is that they are seeing record inflows. From my experience in markets, like these ARC funds, they have been performing fantastically the entire year. So these, I've been accumulating them on dips and, using them as long-term investing vehicles. But for whatever reason, really in the last month or two, maybe because everyone has, the end of the year in mind, and you start to look back at okay, which funds performed the best in 2020, these ARC funds, they've had amazing performances. So I'm guessing, this is just me pontificating here, but people start to see oh my gosh, these ARC funds really are amazing. And then, everyone just does a mad dash to pile in. But typically once that happens and you get record inflows and suddenly everyone realizes these are the best things since sliced bread, and everyone's oh, they can only go up, so I'm going all in. That's typically when the magic sort of ends, at least for the time being. So it is no surprise after seeing those record inflows, now all these are just correcting or doing nothing. So kind of funny. Biotech, which is also doing really well, took a little bit of a corrective move today. And then the leaders for today, we had consumer discretionary up 1.14%. We had XLK, which is very heavy in the FANG names, up 1.13%. And I see real estate, up 0.91%. KWeb, these Chinese internet names, these continue to take a beating. Alibaba is one of the largest weights in that fund. So I'm actually looking within that fund to try to find relative leaders and pick those up at a discount if possible. Because there's a lot of players out there that are going to go, oh man, this fund is super exposed to Alibaba and Alibaba's tanking. I got to sell the fund. And then when that happens, the underlying components within the fund are also sold. So you end up getting situations where Alibaba is really the problem, but companies like JD, like Bilibili, like Pinduoduo there's forced selling in those names just due to the selling in the ETF. It's pretty interesting stuff. And then for our style factors, we had for our top performers, growth and international momentum. Up 0.83% and up 0.89%. And then our laggards, at least for today, we have the momentum style factor down slightly, 0.45%. And we had the size style factor down 0.19%. So yeah, you can see, pretty muted action, nothing too crazy with these style factors. But yeah, the momentum style factor being down, I think is what is most noteworthy here. And you can see, I'll just, pull up a couple of these names that have just been taking beatings. So, a really popular name. So, names like Fubo, which is one that everyone got, super euphoric about. This one's crazy. Like, I wanted to get long Fubo and I completely missed it. I was actually thinking about it within this consolidation right here. And this stock went from $30 to over 60, over the course of about a week. So the stock doubled in a week. And this stock has already had a really nice performance throughout 2020. And now you can see, whoever was chasing it on the highs, that's just a very low probability trade. If you're buying something that is that extended from the moving averages, they were feeling the pain over the last couple days where this thing, went from 62 to 38. So lost, somewhere around like, 30 to 50% of its value. It took a pretty big haircut. Yeah, now Fubo is actually starting to look pretty interesting. So we got this doji candle here. So I'll be watching that one, in the future. But yeah, this parabolic move is just not a good look. Where like you have the parabolic move up, then the parabola breaks, and you go down just as violently. This thing, has like day traders and speculators written all over it. I see the short flow. It's pretty insane. Yeah, this one. Kind of weird. Apps, which is one of my long names, for the long term. This one also took a pretty big hit. And you can see, down 5% for the day. In the grand scheme, this looks a bit more like a healthy correction to me than, like a parabola breaking. But I am biased because I do own apps. But yeah, that was another move. Jumia, which is one I also own. Also, pretty big correction. You can see Jumia has just been on a tear. And this one also pretty violent. It's a very volatile stock. Violent on the way up and violent on the way down. So you can see down 7.47%. Jumia is a name that I just want to hold for the long term. My entry, somewhere around here in the low 30s. I got in on this green candle. So I still have a little bit of buffer here. And I just want to let this one, play out for the long term. Another name that got destroyed. Which names were getting destroyed? There were so many today. Some popular names. Palantir is one that I was long. I actually stopped myself out of Palantir. And the reason why is because, Palantir, awesome stock. I played it like down here for a scalp. And I didn't catch, this big upside. Now what I was hoping for is, maybe in this mania, we'll just get a nice upside move in Palantir. And I bought it on this green candle right here, for around like $27. And I stopped myself out, around halfway through the day. Once I saw it looked like it wasn't going to hold this fast moving average right here, I just figured, what? Like what I noticed is, over the past month, it was super easy to make money going long. It's like almost anything you touched that was a growth name was just soaring. And it was just, to be honest, like very easy. Like the market was very accommodative. What I'm noticing now, like during this holiday period, and it should come as no surprise given there's not really much activity going on, is it's harder to make money on the long side. Maybe not for everybody, but for a lot of the stocks I'm trading, I'm just noticing like there's a bit more resistance. I'm having to try harder. I'm having to like put more positions on. So I figured, this one I'll take a small loss. I had some February calls. And I lost like less than 10% on them because my trade location was pretty good for my entry. But I figured, what, let me clear this one off the books. And then who knows, maybe if it goes bullish, I can always re-enter later. But I like that feeling of, being in control, being ready to attack, the next opportunity. So if something's not really working, the position I hate being in is like, oh man, Palantir's down 7.6% today. Like, hope it goes up tomorrow because now I'm down on my position. And, that's just never a spot I want to be in. I always like to be in the driver's seat and ready to attack the next opportunity. So maybe the next opportunity is in Palantir. Maybe it's not. But I just wanted to clear that one off the books. And especially, too, just given where I am on the year, and even like the prior month, at this point, we're pretty much playing with house money. So, like, I don't want to take a stock that, was working, and now it's looking a little bit more ambiguous. And then, you just stick with it a little too long. You try to give it too much room. And then suddenly you do that for a bunch of stocks, and, then you're wishing. And I used to play competitive tennis as well. And you never want to be in a position where, like, you're wishing for your shots to go in. Or, like, with your stocks, you're wishing that they go up. You want to be in the driver's seat. So I just said, you know what? I'm getting out of Palantir. So I closed my position out. And then what else did I do in terms of trades? So I closed Palantir out. And GBTC was one that I added to last week. So I have a long-term holding in GBTC and just added slightly to my position during the consolidation. And GBTC had, a nice move today. Yeah, definitely closed, well on the lows. So that doesn't even look that good, to be honest. Yeah, I added on this candle right here, around like $28. I did add, towards the lows of that candle. And then we had, more of a correction the following day. And then, nice move up, I guess, but not exactly closing on the highs. I will say with Bitcoin, I would say the sentiment is, getting a bit more frothy. And the thing that's interesting to me is Pomp, the one who's, huge on Twitter and always promoting it. The one really interesting thing, I'm actually going to pull this up because I think it's super important, especially in terms of the way that I look at markets. So this is my Twitter right here. And I'm actually going to pull up Pomp. And these are the kinds of things that I pay attention to. I want to see, did this guy like delete it or did he keep it up? Let's see. Yeah, so this one I thought was super interesting where he said, my investment thesis is simple. Find asymmetric upside by identifying opportunities that are contrarian today, but will be consensus in 3 to 5 years. Optimize for slugging percentage, not batting average. So essentially he's saying, like, try to hit home runs. And then he said, Bitcoin was great example. Operative word was. Many more to come. So this Pomp is one of the people, this is just my opinion, but I truly think the reason why Bitcoin took off the way it did was because you had people like him that are big time social media influencers that have a lot of influence on the world that were pumping Bitcoin every single day. And when I say pumping, like, I don't mean it in like a bad way, but he's been an evangelist for Bitcoin. And with his influence and his following and all that, suddenly more people start saying Bitcoin's good, and then suddenly the price starts going up. And this thing took on a mind of its own where it went up so much that then the institutions had to FOMO in. So that's what's happening now, where you have institutions that are all allocating to it. And everyone's saying, like, oh, I'm doing it for, like, the safety of Bitcoin and all that. Which to me is, I guess Bitcoin could be perceived as safe, but it's very low float, which means that on the way in, low float is awesome because it means as a bunch of people are trying to get in, it pushes the price up a lot. But on the way out, it has the same exact effect where if a lot of people are trying to get out at the same time, it pushes the price down really fast too. So it's just interesting that the biggest Bitcoin evangelist is saying, like, Bitcoin was a great example, meaning, like, I guess this guy's saying, the investment has played out, to some extent. I'm sure if you asked him, he would never say that, but the fact that he's using that, like, past tense means, like, this guy's saying, yeah, I made a killing off of Bitcoin. So, like, for instance, if Pomp goes tomorrow, I'm going to sell some of my Bitcoin because Bitcoin is, at a crazy level. It's not going to matter all of the people that have, like, $1,000 in their, bank account, that bought like $1,000 worth of crypto. Like, if Pomp decides, like, oh, I'm selling like 100 Bitcoins, it's going to move the market in some way. So I just think that's interesting. And although I added to my Bitcoin position last week, I'm actually considered trimming it back tomorrow simply just off of that tweet. So let's see. That was a big side tangent. Let me just go through the rest really quick because I don't want this to be like a 35-minute video. Okay, so we had GBTC, Palantir I talked about. Apple added some March calls in here this morning. And I just saw the relative strength Apple was showing, right off the bat when I posted the breadth this morning. And what I see is it's challenging the prior all-time high. You can see we closed at 136.69. The prior high is 137.98. So we actually did make a new all-time closing high. So you can see the closing high was like 134. And typically what I've noticed is that when an asset makes a new high, even though you could say like, oh, Apple's had such an awesome run, like why would you want to be long here? A lot of times when an asset makes a new high, that's really the beginning of, like another leg up. So I'm not saying that is 100% going to happen or anything, but, Apple's a really good company, a really stable company. Most people own it. And it's something where if I'm going to take a shot on something into year end, Apple seems like a pretty viable candidate. So took some March. I bought the 132.5 strike calls. So I bought them in the money. Nothing too crazy or too aggressive. And I gave myself a lot of time on those. And then just some things I'm watching. So I have positions really quick. Baidu is one. I bought my February calls a couple days ago. And you can see Baidu doing more of the same. Just moving sideways. It looked like we had some power in it this morning, but it ended up fading off. And I took my position pretty close to the low of the day on this big red candle right here. But Baidu is one that we're moving sideways, and these moving averages are starting to catch up to the price. So that's what I want to see. I'm looking for higher levels in Baidu. We'll see if that happens. But I am noticing every time Baidu goes up to around 200, there are sellers that come in. But on the other hand, every time we dip down, there are buyers that come in. So right now we'll have to see who wins out, the buyers or the sellers. I thought this was pretty cool for Baidu. This is on my hourly chart. Yeah, you can see it looked like Baidu was on the verge of a breakout right here. And you can see, we broke out of the weekly value area high, but then the next hourly candle, we just pushed right back into that value area. So we are not getting that power just yet. So we'll have to see, how it plays out. But Baidu's one I'm continuing to watch. I have my February calls. And then Vroom is one that I also put on calls last week. And, oh wow, this is interesting. So Vroom, rallied up to the weekly value area high. Pretty interesting. I'm going to tag that level. We'll have to see if it falls off from here. But I do like the price action from today. So you can see we had a bit of a shakeout candle where we got this pullback and it looked like, oh man, we're getting day 3 of the pullback. We went all the way down to 41.65, but then buyers came in and auctioned it back up. And you can see these 2 days where it dipped right here, day 1, day 2, came on low volume compared to these up days right here. Up day 1, and then over here, another up day. So I'm liking the price action in Vroom. Once again, I have the February calls. I'm looking to take a target maybe at this 47 level or at the VPOC, 49.6. And I believe that's it. That about does it for, some of the trades I put on and some of the things that I am watching really quick. I will just jump into some of the options order flow. And I'm going to post, as I always do, posting my 7-day free trial for Cheddarflow in the description to this video. If you're interested, feel free to click that link. So for my filters, let's filter for the highest premium. And there were just a couple orders that I thought were interesting. Apple, we saw some huge flow, 26.3 million coming into January calls. Tesla, always see those call buyers, coming out in full force. This one I thought was pretty interesting. For Planet Fitness, we had some February calls go up. And Planet, you can see, this isn't a trade I'm going to take because, it's not really trending very hard. Yeah, you can see it's just kind of like meandering sideways. But I just thought it was interesting. You know, somebody has a bullish bet on Planet. You know, maybe there's some new information coming out about it. Not too sure, but that's just a name I don't see very often. XBEV. This came in, wow, right at the close, 359. I didn't even see that one. So let's see, XBEV. I know there's some moment. Oh my gosh. Okay, this one looks like death. Yes, this one made it all the way up to 71. Talk about like bubble stocks. Made it up to 72. And then it's just been a slow and painful death down to 38. So this one lost, you know, about half its value. I am not touching that, even though it's oversold. We had a gold order come in. Let's see. So GLD for March of 2021, $1.5 million. And back when gold was on its bull run, there was a lot of call flow in gold and silver. Now I'm starting to see that flow come back. And you can see now we're trading above the 50-day simple moving average. So gold is one I'm just continuing to watch because it is creeping up. But it's just, you know, doing it very slowly. So I'm just going to continue to watch gold. But that about does it for this market recap video. I don't want to keep you guys too long. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate, you know, everyone that watches the videos. And I'll see you all tomorrow.